And yeah. Oh, yeah, let's just share. They need to replace it. Well, they have replaced their mounts already. No need to replace it. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. All right, so it's 6:30, so I'll call the April 2025 regular board meeting to order. Please stand, pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up is honors and presentations. Dean Rawls, Athlete of the Month.
Hello. We have two great athletes here for our April Athlete of the Month. Starting with Naomi. Come on, Naomi. So first is junior Naomi Bauman. She is a leader for our track and field program. She supports her teammates by helping them learn new drills, leading during warm-ups, and is very encouraging to everyone to do their best. She's earned several medals throughout the season, especially in the 300-meter hurdle, which I heard many people say is like the meet no one wants to run. So the fact that you are excelling in that is awesome. So congratulations. Thank you. Our second is Allison Barrington. She is a junior soccer player. The coach said this to say, Allison has consistently shown remarkable talent and unwavering commitment. She has never complained and has not only excelled on the field, but embodies the values of sportsmanship, teamwork, and perseverance. Thank you, Allison.
Next up is our student spotlight, Dr. Bird.
All right. Sterling and Nina and Isabel. Come on up. We figured we would pull out the cute factor. That's right, that's right. All right, these guys are all juniors, seniors? No, we've brought three of our outstanding kiddos from our early childhood center for our April board meeting and student spotlight. We want to start with Mr. Sterling. Mr. Sterling Bukowski right here. There you go. One of the most incredible students in the early childhood center's pre-K Discover class with Miss Becca. And these are the things that she had to say. I'm gonna scoot this over so everybody can see Sterling. Just over here, buddy. You're doing great. He loves to learn and try new things and is always willing to help his classmates and teachers with whatever they need. He's one of the funniest, kindest, and honest students. And I know he will do great things when he goes into kindergarten next year. Congratulations, Sterling. And then we have Miss Dina. Dina Lucien is in Miss Ann's room. And here's what Miss Ann has to say about you. Dina has grown so much during her time in early childhood. She is super excited about going to kindergarten next year and getting to ride the bus with big brother Adam. Dina loves school, works hard, is an enthusiastic learner, and a leader in our classroom. She is also a good friend to others and is always happy to help her fellow students and teachers. Congratulations, Dina. All right, and last but certainly not least, we have Miss Isabel Click. She is in Miss Jill's classroom. And here's what Miss Jill has to say about you, Isabel. Isabel has had a fantastic year in preschool. She's worked so hard and learned so much this year. She is ready to take on kindergarten. Even better, she's been a wonderful citizen in our class. She is kind to her friends every day and is always the first one to notice when someone needs help. She jumps right in to help zip zippers, clean up spills, help her younger classmates with projects and activities. We love her kindness and the confidence she has in knowing that she can help others. Congratulations, Isabel.
Next up, 2.03, teaching and learning update. Dr. Brown.
Well, I don't know that we have quite the.
Yeah.
I feel like, but I did bring very great.
There we go.
And we have lots of pictures of pictures. Man, we should have went first.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, teaching and learning is very excited to be here tonight to share with you a variety of things that we've been working on throughout the school year. We did bring our greatest asset, our teachers, to share with you some of their experiences. So they'll do that in a moment. But I did want to make sure to introduce the teaching and learning team, so you know me. But we also have Megan Adelot, she's our Director of College Career and Success Ready, and Lauren Fay, who is our new K-12 instructional coach. So we're a department of 3, we love that. And we're all going to share various parts of tonight's presentation. So we'll go ahead and get started. Every year I like to remind you of the different things that we do in teaching and learning because, oh, look, cute people. All right, okay. So we cover a lot of variety of departments. Tonight, we're going to mostly focus on curriculum, instruction, college and career readiness, assessment, and professional learning. But we also have the privilege of working on student services, federal programs, and core data. I'm probably the only person in the state that would call that a privilege, but we have learned a lot by doing those things as well. So as you know, all of our work is focused on our strategic plan. So our district strategic plan, we really work in the first 2 pillars, our students and our team, although we do have a couple in our community, especially with the work that Megan does. So we'll be talking about different goals in those areas that we've been working on since 2021. For professional learning is probably one of the most important things we do in teaching and learning because it's all about the support and development of our teaching staff and how do we give them the resources and the tools and the experiences they need to do the very best for our students. So when we talk about student achievement, it always goes back to our teachers. So we really take professional learning very seriously in this district. And this year we've tried to really highlight impact. So we've really been trying to focus on what is the impact in the classroom when a teacher experiences professional learning. So I'm excited to share with you 3 teachers. So we have one from each area who are going to share a little bit about professional learning experience they had this year and the impact it had in their classroom. So I'm going to turn it over first to Courtney Shamel, and then we'll have James Bellicky and then Sarah Valley.
You don't want to go reverse order on that.
No, lucky you.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share with you how building thinking classrooms professional development has transformed my classroom and student learning. So building thinking classrooms is a framework developed by Dr. Peter Liljedahl to increase student engagement and deepen mathematical thinking. It focuses on 14 practices that teachers can implement in their classrooms to accomplish those tasks, some of those being using visible random groupings to put students into trios to work, using vertical non-permanent surfaces, which is a really fancy way of like dry erase boards, so students can erase their mistakes and not feel like they're making a mistake. They can be flexible with their learning, and giving them deep thinking tasks for what they're doing. So I actually had the opportunity to attend professional development with Peter, the author of this framework, in summer of 2023. Yes, summer. Teachers like to do that stuff in the summer too. And so I was learning from him himself for a couple of days and then immediately started implementing this practice in my classroom when we came back to school in August. And then this spring, I attended a professional development to, it was called Digging Deeper into Building Thinking Classrooms, which was designed for teachers who have already been implementing these practices to further advance some work with the framework. So some key changes I've seen in my classroom in the last 2 years since using this learning is increased student engagement. Students are more active, talking, thinking, and solving rather than passively receiving information. I've seen new levels of collaborative learning in my classroom. The random groups and vertical whiteboards create a really dynamic, inclusive environment for students. They're working with different peers regularly, which builds on those social, emotional, and teamwork skills in addition to the math, which is just a bonus. It's gives a shift in the teacher role to more of a facilitator guiding students through that thinking process and allowing me to observe students through their thought process and give that timely targeted feedback to them on what they're doing. Some key things with student growth and impact that I've seen is a much deeper understanding in our math standards and skills rather than rote procedural things. They're really spending more time reasoning and making sense of problems in their mathematical thinking, which has led to a huge increase in critical thinking skills as well as mathematical confidence. As much as it hurts my heart, there's always a couple of kids who just don't like math or hate math or have that math anxiety sort of thing. But I see less and less of that with this sort of framework. I even have some kids who say that they love math by the end of the year. There's a lot less hate for math by that. So that increase in math confidence as well as deepened understanding are two huge wins for me. This is a structure that supports all learners at all levels. So there's a lot of low floor, high ceiling opportunities for kids to keep extending them with this framework and these tasks. And every student has a voice. So participation has really skyrocketed in the math classroom as well. So basically building thinking classrooms is game changer. And several other teachers have had the opportunity to attend some sort of professional developments on this framework in the last year or two. And so we're just really excited to see the impacts that these practices will continue to have in our district and help our students thrive.
Thanks, Courtney. Thank you, Courtney.
I did longer than 2 minutes.
I will not. We'll stay on track, I promise. So I attended MoShape and thank you for the opportunity to attend MoShape. And if you don't know, it's the Missouri Society for Health and Physical Education Educators. I think one thing for me that I wasn't expecting coming from a veteran classroom elementary teacher, the difference of implementation with a PE and health classroom, right? I figured it would be a much easier transition. I mean, it hasn't been like crazy hard, but there's definitely been some caveats that I wasn't, waiting for. So the main reason that I honed in on MoShape was so that I could get my NAS certification, it's the National Archery in Schools program. And that was great. So that was the first day. Katie and I both are certified now. And so next year we'll start with that in the middle school and hopefully that'll help teacher of the year. But just so the kids so they have a little more experience, like for his adventure pursuits classes and what have you. He doesn't have to start in the beginning. We've already kind of exposed them to, some of the high school things. So that's a huge bonus for the first part of that conference. And then there are a few sessions that really stood out to me, but one that I was able to come and kind of put into play right away. It was Brandy Lynch. She's a professor from Central Missouri, and it was called using a tactical approach for middle and high school PE. And for me, it seemed more like a reverse design of how to teach PE, like a more skills-based implementation. So an example, the thing that I brought back and tried with the kids, it's this Frisbee game. And so she explained the rules to all of the adults and then just threw us out there. Then after about 5 minutes, stopped, was like, okay, now you partner up. Here's how you hold the Frisbee. Here's how you throw a Frisbee. I want you to make sure you have 5 catches each, and then you'll start doing it on the move. And then, you know, so there was all these little protocol and then back into the game. And everybody did better after that. You know, we already knew the rules, and then we went to the skill part and then back to the game. So I tried that a couple of times, but after meeting with Angie, that'll be for my post eval, that'll be a focus for me across the board next year. A couple of the other, there was like an AI for health and PE, which was a good conference or a good session as well. And then kind of a mental health, you know, for adolescents session, which I ended up getting a free curriculum in Spanish and English for mental health. So that's a bonus. It's free. But really that's, I mean, those were my big takeaways, you know, the certification, then just like a completely different way that's used in a regular classroom or in the elementary, but applying it to PE. You know, so those are my big things. And again, thank you very much for the opportunity. I can speak for the PE department. We feel supported with continuing education and professional development, and it's much appreciated. So thank you.
Thanks,
And I think that was way over too.
Ah,
I never would have guessed.
Sarah.
Thanks,
We're
Coach.
just so confident.
Have fun or arrows.
Thank you so much for letting me be here today and for letting me go to the National Council of Teachers of English, NCTE conference. It was in Boston last November, and I know it was not cheap. And so thank you so much for that opportunity. So it is the premier conference for English teachers. It's it's national. It really is. I met people from Wyoming and I met people from Massachusetts and everywhere in between, because this is the place to be. The reason I actually, you know, I see it pop up in my email every year, but the reason I was really intrigued for this past recent year was because of the keynote speakers, who were Kate McKinnon, who was Weird Barbie, if anybody's familiar with that, but she read a book, or she wrote a book recently, and so she was there to as an author. And then Brian Stevenson, who is the author of Just Mercy, and he does a lot of work on for death row inmates, and has gone to the Supreme Court with his cases. So that was really compelling, being familiar with his book and his work. And then Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was there. So the keynote speakers had me kind of hooked and willing to ask. But then looking at the programming, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sessions on anything you could ever want English related. And then being there was just phenomenal. So there's kind of 3 things I think personally that make really great professional development experiences. And if you come away like just feeling rejuvenated as like a professional, and then if you have, you know, really great networking opportunities, and then of course, if you have something you can take to your classroom right away, and all 3 of those things happened at this conference. For starters, when you hear, you know, Kate McKinnon and Brian Stevenson and Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson talk about how the most important people in their lives were teachers, like you feel really special, especially when one of them is like, it was the English teachers. And then when another one comes up and says, it was the English teachers. And then the third, the Supreme Court Justice, says, it was the English teachers. So you're like, okay, I do good work. So you know, you walk away feeling really important in your work. Professionally, it was really like a who's who of English teachers there. And I mean, I think I was counting this afternoon, I went to like 5 sessions of people who I've either studied their pedagogical work, or I've interacted with them on these 2 Facebookers. As silly as it sounds, there's some really great ones out there. And so 5, you know, who's, actually probably more like 8, because 3 of them write my AP Lang textbook that I got this year.
And, it was just really fantastic, like working with these people, learning from these people, being able to, like I joked with the writers of my textbook that the kids thought they were all one person. They didn't realize they were actually three people, and, I walked away with business cards and like face-to-face connections. So when we can connect online, I was like on their Instagram stories, like our selfies together. So I really do believe it's people that I can reach out to and ask some more questions as I continue this work. And then finally, as far as like the classroom, anything I thought about wanting to work on this year, I went to those sessions and I came back with practical stuff. I wanted AP Lang and AP Lit best practices. And I wanted, the English team has been working on grammar instruction. That's been really important to us to try to implement more of that. And I went to a lot of grammar sessions, which wasn't just about like drill and kill and memorize, but like really intentional application of it and ways to make it meaningful and make students see how it's going to make them better. So I walked away with a lot of materials and books and networking on that, that I've been able to integrate really smoothly, like on day one when I got back. I wanted to do more work with poetry as a powerful tool for reading comprehension and critical thinking, and not just like something fun with figurative language. And there was so many sessions that had that exact topic. So I was able to see people doing what I was thinking was possible, like right there in front of me. And then writing, I wanted to walk away with some tools for helping make students stewards of their own learning. And so like which I gathered material on that. Like Monday, I was teaching a lesson based off that work on self-revision and peer evaluation that they were then able to we were able to return to all year, and not just applicable to all of the levels that I teach, English 3 to AP Lang to AP Lit. So professional, like motivation and inspiration, professional networking that I can go to speak, like teacher to teacher. And then like day one tools to help the students with their rigor and their critical thinking. So thank you. It was really great. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks,
Sarah.
I promised our teachers that we would let them go as soon as they were done presenting, because some of them have family things tonight. So please feel free to sneak out, because I know we got birthdays and all kinds of. So we got kids' birthdays. And events.
I was thinking, it's 14th birthday.
Right. You already sacrificed a little bit. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Thank you to each of you. So like I said, we really wanted to highlight impact this year. So we're going to share some other ways we've been highlighting impact as well. Before I introduce Lauren, who's going to talk with you about the majority of professional learning things, besides what the teacher shared, I did want to remind you that we have a district professional learning plan. We have building professional learning plans, and that's where we take all of our goals from our strategic plan. We come up with our plans for the year, and then all of our PD that we have on site. So whether it's our building PD or district PD aligns to those plans. So there's kind of a purpose behind all of the different things that we do. So now I'm going to have Lauren come up and share with you. Lauren's our district PDC chair. She does that along with being the instructional coach. So she's going to share some other highlights about PD.
All right, so the next slide is, oh,
Sorry, that's the.
oh,
I haven't really.
I didn't realize
I haven't been
that
doing a great job.
all right, so this slide is showing by the numbers this year about professional learning with our educators. So we've been able to send many of our educators' learning experiences off campus. And to be able to do this, which you'll see later in the presentation, we've written grants and had title funding help, and we've been mindful of seeking outside funds when we're doing these opportunities for our staff. We've had 18 educators lead and present at conferences, which is really nice. And over 1/3 of our certified teaching staff has attended area workshops. So there's not many districts around the area that are able to say that, which is really nice. What button do I click?
The one to the right arrow.
Okay, I got it. Except I went too far. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, cool. So in 2019, before our current strategic plan, we had
sent out a lot of surveys to our stakeholders and our communities, and these numbers in 2019 are from our staff surveys about professional development. And then in 2025, it's the same questions that were asked again, and these are the responses. So our work in teaching and learning, and especially with professional development, is our ultimate goal is the third point where it says professional learning in our district has improved my professional practice, and that's our focus. So it's really nice to see the numbers change and the views of professional learning change over the years, where people are really diligent about utilizing opportunities and taking what we've been working so hard on with our professional learning into their classrooms. So it's really nice to see. So this is my first year and our first year of having an instructional coach. And my work aligns directly with just our pillar of our team, where every member of our team will engage in professional learning and collaborate on curriculum development and implementation that positively impacts our student learning. That's all I do all day, every day. The bar graph on the left shows how my time is spent, a little broken up, but ultimately it can be shifted into these three buckets. So for example, for staff supports, I am mentoring new teachers. I am in PLCs offering support to our staff in that way. I am the district professional development chair, so I assist with our professional development, lead our district professional development learning blocks, and we just had our final spring professional development day that we spoke to with our district professional development committee. And then in curriculum, I have co-led the math writing curriculum, and they're also writing their proficiency scales this year, as well as I'm constantly helping with curricular resources for our teachers. That's a lot of the work that I do with our PLCs, is I go in and I help share things that they might have already or that they don't know about. And I know I work with both Megans about what resources can help our teachers even more in the classroom. So it's been a great, great year. So when our teachers go on professional learning experiences, they are able to share their learning with the rest of our certified staff. So on our website, when you do go to professional learning, there's an experiences tab where that's where all of our reflections are housed. So they receive the reflection from me before they go on their professional development experience off campus. They fill it out while they're there or afterwards, and it just kind of sums up the resources and the learning and their intentions with their learning for that experience. And then it's housed in one spot, so the rest of our staff can see what they've been up to and even reach out to those who've been to certain experiences, which is really nice. One example is Kristen Light in our high school has been, she went on a professional learning experience based on a new class that she's teaching this year called Modern Literacy. So she attended a PD to enhance her teaching and to gain some new ideas for that course. And then while she was there, she connected with someone from KSDK, where she was able to eventually bring her class there for a real life experience. And that all stemmed from that professional learning opportunity, which is really sweet. And then in partnership with Jamie Gass, Jamie makes these beyond the classroom pages that is able to enhance and share the learning that happened in our classrooms and with our teachers to the rest of the community. So it's all inclusive, and it's really nice to see what's happening where we might not have known that otherwise. So this slide shows in the past 5 years, all of the learning that we've been immersed in throughout all of our professional development. And we're really excited that next year we're gonna bring it all together. So all of our staff members that are not researching or writing curriculum will be placed in one of these pathways, and that's their focus for the year, where they're going to take their past learning and enhance it even more, and focus on either the instruction, professional learning communities, and assessment. And then it'll also invite more collaboration in with that as well. So we're really excited.
Thank you, Lauren. We can't thank you enough for the addition of Lauren. We tried to get her to switch her name to Megan. She didn't want to. I don't know. It seemed like it'd be easy. But no, Lauren has brought so much to our teachers. We actually had a teacher just this past week, or maybe last week, sent out an email to their entire staff, encouraging them to reach out to Lauren, sharing the things that she did for that teacher and how she could help and support other teachers. So everybody is really supportive of Lauren, and Lauren she jumps right in and takes initiative all the time. And she's very organized. times, which is good for the Megan. So everybody appreciates Lauren. If you thought we were only gonna talk about professional learning tonight, sorry, we got a couple more things. This is also our annual opportunity to share with you some of our assessment results from the 2024 assessment season, which seems a little weird because we're in the 2025 assessment season. But as you know, we get those scores back and then we utilize those scores all year long. So I'm gonna try to go fairly quickly in this next section. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask, and I can also answer any questions you have afterwards. So one of the things that's really important to us is that we have a balanced assessment plan. So if we don't want to just utilize one component of testing and use that for all of informing all of our decision making, because every kind of test we give has a purpose. So the state allows us the opportunity to give the MAP test, to give end of course exams, to give the access test for our ELL students, and some other opportunities. And that's really our state's accountability system. That's how they rate us as districts. That's how they give us a score. We'll kind of talk about that later. But we always say that this data, although it does provide us with really good information, it is autopsy data. It's after the fact data. We get it after the kids have already moved to the next grade level. So we really try to use it to kind of inform big ideas, like what were some big standards that we maybe missed that we can then improve upon the following year. But we don't want to use it for evidence of learning, which is where we're really looking at individual students, because we know it's just a one-time test. So when we look at our district assessments, these are what we call our benchmark assessments. It's the tests our students take throughout the year. Usually it's 3 times a year. This is what we use. We use iReady, NWA. You've probably heard some of these names used before. This kind of assessment is really used for teachers to be able to look at what are students already mastering, what do they need next, what are they ready for next, so it can really inform some of their instructional decision making. That's also a lot of the data that our PLCs use. So when they're talking as a department or they're talking as a grade level, they're using that data to discuss like those standards that across the board might need more support or might need a celebration because our kids are really mastering that. And then we have what I would say is the most important form of assessment, which is the classroom assessments. These are those formative, which means like just in the learning moment assessments that teachers give, whether it's like a quick check-in or check-out where it's observational data, as well as those unit assessments and those assessments that they've created in their classroom. And that's really where we respond to learning. We really look at those assessments like, what can we say we know right now and where are we going to go right away next? Teachers use it day to day to decide what their groupings are going to look like the next day. They use it day to day to look at who are they going to pull for ACT Lab and give more support. So that's the assessment we're really using on a regular basis. So tonight, we're going to really focus on the accountability side of things because one, I'm required to share that with you from the state, but two, we're doing very well and we have a lot to be proud of. So we had some highlights this year. A couple I want to really point out to you is we had 100% of our students who took AP exams last year scored a 3 or higher, which is the proficiency level of AP exams. And just for comparison's sake, across the nation, that's about 60%. So we outperform the nation by a mile. We're really proud of that. We've expanded our AP offerings. Our teachers, as Sarah shared a little bit with you now, our teachers have really like taken on additional coursework as well as just additional learning to ensure that our students are prepared. And obviously they were very well prepared. So we're really proud of that score. Some of the others I'm going to really highlight throughout tonight, but I also want to point out, we saw a 17% percentage increase in students who performed proficient or advanced in 7th grade math alone. So one grade level saw a 17% increase. And so that just goes back to that work math has been doing around curriculum writing. They had a research year, so they were really looking at best practices and doing book studies and things. And that PLC work where they were able to like collaborate, I really believe played a role in that. So a lot of really cool highlights to share with you. Our APR report, or what we call our annual performance report, that's the report the state gives us. I kind of consider it like our state report card. So every year DESE comes out and says, here's your score. Every district in the state gets a score. So our score for this year was 85.2%. That was actually 3.5 percentage points higher than in 2024, which we actually thought was really great. So we're really proud of that. It's divided into 2 categories: performance, which is just how you perform on your state assessments. I'll kind of break those down, and then continuous improvement, which are a lot of various things that you have to do to show that you're doing different things that the state has asked you to do, like kindergarten assessments, ICAPs, which are career plans, things like that. This is a distribution chart for the state of Missouri. So it shows you all 549 districts in the state of Missouri and where they fell. So you can see Valley Park was in the 80 to the 89.9%. So we're in the top third, which is where we want to be. And you can see there's over 200 districts, well, there's really over 300 districts that were below us. What's also interesting to note is 17 of the 57 that were in the top category are K2 or K8 districts. They don't even have high school. So it's very different. It's really not apples to apples, which people struggle with because we're compared apples to apples, but they don't have any of the EOC assessments in their tests. So it's kind of neat to see where we are. APR gives you a lot of different measurement types, designations, categories, coding. There's a lot. I don't expect you to memorize this, but these are the various codes. So just so you know, we always are looking for green and blue. So we always are looking for being on target. You can't really read that in the blue, it's target or on track. Those are our goals. If we're on track, it's like proficiency. So we want to be on track or on target. And then there's not met and met, depending on different like requirements from the state. So this is from last year. These are our APR numbers for status. Status is simply how we did on that day on the assessment. So it's not about growth. It's not looking at how kids did the year before. It's solely looking at how you did on that day. They give you status points in ELA, math, science, and social studies. ELA encompasses 3rd through 8th grade, as well as English 2. So English 2 is taken by our sophomores at the high school. Math is all the same grades, plus Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. Science we have 3 science assessments, 5th grade, 8th grade, and biology. And then social studies, this is the one that's the real kicker, is based on only one test, which is the government test that our juniors take. So you can see here, I said we really want to be on track or on target in all areas. And we met all of those areas except for one, which is in our student groups under science. Student groups would be all of our students who are in a subgroup of a sort. So they might be a student with an IEP. They might be a student who comes from a home from poverty. They might be a student who has an ELL designation, but it's all of those students who are in different groups. And then cell size just means we didn't have enough kids. So we oftentimes don't have enough kids in our student groups to get a score. And so if that's the case, it just says cell size. This is our growth report. This is difficult to read there, but what I really wanted to highlight is we saw improvement in all 4 of our growth areas. So every subject saw improvement either in all students or in the student group. And a couple of years ago, I came to you when APR changed and they had a new growth system and told you like, this is what we've been waiting for. We want to really focus on growth. Status is great and all, but what we care about is if we're growing our kids. And here, that's where we saw the most improvement in all areas was under growth. So we're really excited about that. I also highlighted, we got 100% in a lot of areas. I think it's really important to note we've received 100% in social studies, which is only one test, which is government. So that was pretty amazing. And then all the different things like our graduate follow-up report, which is really important where we talk about where our kids are going and knowing where all of our kids are going, our graduation rate, all of those areas, we got 100% in all of those across the board. So we're not only doing well in testing, we're also doing really well with all the other things that are important to the state. And that's what this column shows you. This is continuous improvement. 9 out of 10 of these areas, we got 100% of our points earned. The one where we missed points will be a shocker, is attendance. But the plus is we went up in attendance. So we've actually been consistently raising our attendance since COVID. A lot of districts have continued to struggle, and we do too, but we're in a much better place than we were right after COVID. And all of our schools saw some great improvement in attendance. So we've been doing various things to kind of encourage the kids to come to school and make sure they're here, because what's most important is that they're here so we can help them. Okay, real fast. So this is all of the different math assessments, EOCs, et cetera. I put them all on different slides for you. This is ELA. The blue is how we did. The gray is the state of Missouri average. So what I'm always kind of looking at is I want us to be outperforming the state average. So you can see here that in 3 of the grade levels and areas, we're outperforming the state, some by a lot. And then in most of the other areas, it's really close. So we're like neck and neck. And we've seen, like I said, a lot of growth. So we know that we're on the right upward trend in ELA. We also implemented new ELA curriculum this year. So we're expecting to see that come to fruition as well. And then in math, you can see the same thing. Math, we also had, I think we had 4 of the grade levels outperform the state in math, which we're really proud of. 8th grade is a little tricky because in 8th grade, kids who take Algebra 1 now have to take the Algebra 1 test. They can't take the math 8th grade test. And that's a change that was changed 2 years ago. So the data is a little bit skewed because we're pulling out all of our eighth graders from Algebra 1, and those are represented on the high school scores. So it's a little bit wonky, still an area where we can grow, because of course, if the state is performing where it is, we should be growing as well, but it's something that we just recently changed. Science, also, you can see we're neck and neck with the state. As you might remember, we implemented new science curriculum a couple of years ago and then new resources. So they've really been perfecting their craft in the classroom, and we're seeing growth in those areas. So we're excited to see them continue to grow in science. Again, we only test in 5th, 8th, and biology. So it's really kind of wonky because 5th grade covers K through 5 standards. 8th grade covers 6th through 8th standards. And so it's really difficult for the kids to test once and have to remember 3 years worth of curriculum. So we kind of like redid our curriculum. We don't ever want to teach the test, but we do try to be mindful like what the kids are going to be encountering. And so we've done some changes. Megan's going to show you some things that our middle school science group has done to that. Here's our EOC test. Our EOCs, they really knocked it out of the park once again. We've had 2 extremely strong years in EOC. You can see English 2, biology, and government well perform above the state. Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. Algebra 2, we now have to give. We didn't used to give that, so it's all convoluted, but basically the kids who take Algebra 1 in 8th grade, that doesn't count for a high school test, even though it counts in our scores. So then they have to take another math test once they're in high school, and now that's Algebra 2. It used to be you could just wait and give them Algebra 1. So we're still kind of working through those kinks a little bit. We only had a few kids who took it last year, but we're doing very, very well in all of our EOC areas. So we're really proud of the work our teachers have been doing around the standards. All of these assessments, I always tell our teachers, they are standards assessments. They are truly only testing if our kids know the Missouri standards. So the more tightly aligned we are to the Missouri standards, the better we're going to perform. However, we also know we do a lot of other things, and we can't always show all of those on a test, which is why that balanced assessment plan is so important. I hope you saw, I know you guys did because you mentioned it, but I hope everybody saw that we were featured in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch this year because we were one of only 3 districts in the area that have outperformed our post-COVID scores. So a lot of districts are still kind of working to get back to where they were pre-COVID in terms of solely state assessment scores. But we have actually outperformed those. So we're really excited to be featured in that article and really be able to really talk about what our teachers are doing and the work they're doing and the work our kids are doing, because we've really bumped up expectations and they are rising to the occasion. So we're really excited to share that with them. And now Megan's going to talk with you about some other things related to this.
A lot of papers up here.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm the other Megan. So thank you so much for letting us present. I will also try to talk very quickly. As you know, college and career readiness was part of that MSIP that Megan went over. And so in those points and things that we're looking for, both for that, but more importantly, to make sure that our kids truly are ready for when they leave our doors on that graduation day. We started giving 3 or 4 years ago, the ACT to every junior. It was good. It gave us good data, but really the measurement of college and career readiness is not just the ACT. There are several tests that can be used to help us identify if our kids are college and career ready. And a lot of that is based on what the kids' personal strengths and weaknesses are, how they test, how they capture information, how they relay information. And so this year, we switched and we allowed our juniors to choose which college and career readiness test was the best for them. And so you can see this infographic. It was given to the students. David Cook, our high school guidance counselor, worked with the junior class and kind of explained that in a little more detail. But then we gave the students a Google form. We let them pick. We didn't really question it. David and Dr. Looning did kind of go over it just to make sure that the kids we thought should select certain tests that they did. But I don't believe we changed any student's test. This is hot off the presses. We just got the data back earlier this week. Our students, allowing them to test in the test that they felt was best for them. In addition to all that work that Megan has been talking about, all of our courses being aligned to standards, all of our teachers teaching to grade level, all of our students coming in and really doing the hard work of the teaching and the learning that's going on, our scores are amazing. So this batch of students that are juniors, we don't actually count their data in that MSIP report until after they graduate. But as of today, I can tell you that we've already earned the 10 out of 10 points on the inset from the work that the students and the teachers have put into our coursework, and then tests like this. So we're super excited about that. And then, as Megan mentioned, I was just gonna talk a little bit about some of the benchmark assessments and how they relate to our science curriculum. So the 8th grade science test does cover 6th, 7th, and 8th grade standards. So the state standards are just written 6th through 8th. Our teachers met, they decided these are how we're gonna teach the standards, and it's been fine. This year, we've started to really look at that with the data that we have, and are we really doing them in the right order? Also taking into consideration the sequencing that we have in high school. How long are they going when they're learning a standard till they learn it again in high school? Is it too long? Are we too close? All of those things. So the top left snippet that's pretty hard to read on there, that's an example of some data from their benchmarking assessment, which in middle school science, we do use NWEA. And so that is just of one student's information, and it's really a projection of how they're going to do on that EOC or MAP test, excuse me. And so from there, our teachers looked at every single 8th grade student. So during PLC time, they kind of dove into every kid and they looked at that. The information that that also gives you is specifically which standards those students have not mastered. And so from that, we also looked at the bottom left screenshot. That's just a snippet of a document that has every state standard and then which grade it is covered in for us. Just so again, we could kind of make sure we had that alignment in there. And then with that document and a heat map, so Megan referenced that we look at that data in kind of that autopsy way. A heat map shows you this percentage of the questions were on this standard and this many of your students did well on it. So it kind of allowed us to see, are there certain standards that the state clearly is giving multiple questions on, and how are we doing on those? So if we were going to try to move kids specifically on that test, those might be the ones that we want to move kids on. So we took the heat map and we took that information, and then the picture on the right, that is actually a document with every single 8th grader student's name on it and which standards they might benefit from some reteaching. And so, as you know, we shifted some things in our schedule this year to allow for reteaching time. And so the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade science teachers put groups together of students, and Gloria took a group of kids and retaught because these 6th and 2 standards. And then our 7th and 8th grade teachers did the same thing. So we're really excited, and watching them, and Lauren jumped in and helped, and so did Angie. We kind of all worked with them together, watching their eyes light up about like, oh, now then I know that makes more sense. So it was really neat. And then they were like, well, wait, could we maybe move this standard? Because we'd really like to teach it here, and we could move the unit. So like they are really getting into using that data to drive their instruction and kind of shift the way that they do things. So we're super excited to see the results and really optimistic that the continued hard work that our teachers are doing is going to pay off for our students. I'll go back to you.
Okay, but wait, there's more, guys. There's a little bit more, so just buckle up. I know we're a little long, but we're also going to share some things about curriculum instruction. I did want to point out that both Lauren and Megan kind of talked about this, but a lot of this work we attribute to PLC, so professional learning communities, and we're very lucky that we've been able to adjust our schedules and our calendars and the way that we're doing things in the district so that all teachers in K-12 core classes right now, we're working on electives, all have PLC time, because like that kind of work, you know, that's 45 minutes to an hour just to really talk about a couple standards. That is not enough time in a one planned time of a day when you don't even have your colleagues with you to have those conversations. So we really know that that collaboration time is essential to really expediting our students' learning. So really, I can't say enough about the schedule and the calendar and all the work that the teachers did and the principals did to make that happen, because that's where we're seeing the biggest difference. So as you know, we also cover curriculum instruction. We're gonna go so fast over this part, okay, I promise. So here's all the things we implemented this year. 5 different subject areas implemented new curriculum this year. 2 subject areas wrote curriculum this year. And this wraps up all of our core curriculum. So we actually have written all new, and I say new, I would say all, I don't know if new is the right word for it, curriculum in all core areas as well as many of our electives. And then we'll move into the rest of our electives starting next year. So it's a huge feat. We couldn't have done it without all of the teachers were totally willing to write sub plans and get in here and do the heavy work and go visit schools. And I can't say enough about the work that they've done. I think you can see the evidence of the work. Another thing we want to highlight is this year we started an instructional design team. So teachers and administrators had the opportunity to apply to be a part of the district instructional design team. So last spring, people who were interested applied. We have about 20 people on the team. So for us, that's about a fourth of our entire certified staff. And they're really focused on like kind of what Lauren had talked about. We're trying to bring all the pieces together. Like we've learned a lot of different things. What does this mean for our day-to-day work? And if we say I'm a Valley Park teacher, then here are the things we value most about instruction. So we're designing this instructional framework. So this team did book studies, they did learning days, they did site visits, they went to conferences. We wrote a ton of grants to get them to be able to go to see different things. And they'll continue this work next year. So next year at this time, we might be ready to present to you the instructional framework. So we'll hopefully share that with you when we present next year. And then, as you also know, our district, we're part of a statewide initiative called the Success Ready Students Network. We're in what's called the System Design Zone. Basically, what that means is we're almost at the top. That's how I'm gonna describe it. There are people above us and there's people below us. But really what it means is that we're really committed to looking at competency-based learning, which when we say competency-based learning, really all we're talking about is that we focus on the individual student and they learn what they're ready to learn and we move them as they're ready. So all that work we just showed you with assessments and curriculum and all of that, that is the work of competency-based learning, as well as that we're committed to ensuring that all kids before they graduate have real world experiences in college and career readiness so that they are making really informed decisions as they move forward. So we get to learn with people from all over the state of Missouri every month. We have virtual learning opportunities, and then once a quarter, we get to drive to Jeff City for the day and have in-person learning opportunities. And we'll be bringing some more stuff to you about the Success Ready Student Network, but that's something the state of Missouri has been working really hard on. So we're a part of that work. We don't want to miss out. Dr. Dilge always tells me money doesn't grow on trees, but I object. What we like to say is that teaching and learning is the department of yes. Our job is to try to say yes to a teacher's dream. So whether it's something new they want to learn, whether it's some experience they want to have, it's something they want to try, our job is to figure out a way to say yes to that. It might be us jumping in and helping them. It might be writing a grant. It might be finding grants so that we can offer new courses that we would have never been able to afford to offer before. So every year we come to you with kind of like the amount of money we got from others. So this year we got over $65,000 in grants to support teaching and learning. So whether that was PD that we talked about or some of our curricular courses, we get 50-50 grants from the state. So they pay for half and we pay for half of our materials and supplies. So it's really just about being knowledgeable about what's out there and being really persistent to apply. And we've had a lot of really good luck. So although we do have a lot of title funds that support professional learning, so that's funds that come from the federal government, you can only use them for title money for professional development. We use those a lot. But this is another way that we're able to really offer opportunities to our teachers. So we feel the money is growing on the trees right now. All right, and I will turn it over to Megan to wrap up.
All right. One of the things that we do each year, 180 days after our students graduate, we are required to submit to DESE where they are and what they're up to. So we do that, and our high school staff does an amazing job of figuring that out for us. So some of the data actually comes to us from the state. There's a national school clearinghouse. So if your kid is at a school like Mizzou, we get that data from the state. Again, the relationships that our teachers have, we know even before they're on the clearinghouse, we know where most of our students are at. So the work of our counseling office starts to collect that data right now. And then in the fall, we kind of confirm, did anybody make any decisions that might have changed where they went or what their plans were? And so this is the information from the class of 2024 graduates. And I just want to say, I think it's amazing that we have almost 80% of our kids in some sort of post-secondary education-based thing, right? So whether they're in a post-secondary training program, that would be like they went to a union or a cosmetology school kind of falls under that. And then the 2 or 4 year college is outstanding. You'll notice that that's 60%. The competitively employed means that they're working 40+ hours, so I would also consider that a win. And then obviously, anytime our students join the military is also a win. So we just wanted to highlight that not only are our students going out and doing great things, but that we also know where they're going, and that feels really good, and it feels really good to our high school staff. And even we've shared this with our middle school staff, and we have plans to kind of share it with the elementary, because the work starts, as we know, when they're in kindergarten, so that they can have excellent results like this. So we just wanted to highlight that. And then I just wanted to kind of remind you guys how we work to make sure that they are college and career ready. So in K-5, we really just work on careers, what they are, what it means, what is a job within our classroom, right? They have those, they're doing things, they might be the classroom helper for the day, they get those assignments, much like we get assignments in our job. Our elementary's school counselors have a career week that just wrapped up. So the left picture is one of the days that we had at the elementary school. And then in middle school, we kind of shift to more career awareness. So really, like, what does the career mean? How do I know what I want to do? And hopefully that graphic in the middle, you're like, we've seen that a lot. Those are the 6 career paths that the state of Missouri kind of agrees to broadcast and promote. They also align with the national ones. And so we use that for a lot of things. Our students beginning in 6th grade all the way through 12th grade take put a lot of words in there at once, a career interest survey. And it's important to us, so our students know that they're going to take it multiple times, because they all change their minds, right? We change our minds. As adults, most of us have changed careers. And so we give them that survey 1 to 2 times a year, depending on their grade, and really want them to reflect on the experiences they've had. That middle graphic was from the middle school career fair that we just hosted. And so what we did this year was we took all of our presenters that came in the morning and we matched them to the career path that they would fit. And if you look, some of them fit in multiple things, because a lot of us have careers that can fit in multiple buckets. And then the students got to select the 5 that they wanted to go listen to. That was a big shift for us this year, that our students 100% chose their morning sessions in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And it was amazing. It was great. The presenters were so pleased with how great our students did, and our students were really excited to go to their sessions. So that's just an example of some of that career awareness we do. In 9th and 10th, we shift just a little bit. It's still a lot of awareness, but a little more exploration. So we continue to do career days for our 9th and 10th graders. They continue to take that same interest survey. We're really trying to find a good aptitude test as well, which really hones in on skills that they have, so that they can match those skills with careers that the data says that they might be good at. 11th and 12th grade is really where we get into career prep. So you'll notice that's a student who is getting certified in CPR. So career prep for us is all of our dual credit, our dual enrollment, our AP courses, all of our capstone courses, which may or may not be attached to any of those other words I just threw out there, but really creating a situation for our 11th and 12th graders that they feel really good about a career path that they want to follow up when they graduate. And then we work really hard to make sure that they have a plan that aligns to what they're telling us they want to do, so that they will be successful. Again, same infographic. This just highlights all of the elective courses we offer to our high school students related to careers. And I would tell you that we have just as many courses as any of those larger schools within that 10 to 20 mile radius of us. And that is impressive. And our school counselor works incredibly hard to make sure that all of those fit. As you guys know, most of our teachers are singletons, but these classes, because of how little we are, most of them are singletons, and we offer all of them all the time. And so we're really excited to be able to provide our students all of these different career-based courses that are attached to all of those careers, and they're also attached to really high-level materials. Most of those classes on there are available for college credit. Which I think leads me to my next slide. So you guys can read that big blurb on the left, but basically to drive home this idea that students who experience a dual credit or dual enrollment course in high school do better post-secondary, no matter what path they choose, whether it is college or trade school or the military, they do better from that experience. So we are proud to let you guys know that 84% of our students from the class of 2024 were enrolled in a class at Valley Park that was available for dual credit, or they took a dual enrollment course through our relationship with most of our dual enrollments were through the St. Louis Community College, which you'll notice on the bottom. I just want to highlight that. Our partnership with St. Louis Community College, which is both dual credit, dual enrollment, and then we have one student enrolled in early college, which means she will graduate with an associate's degree and a high school diploma at the same time. But that work that we have done has saved our families over $40,000. That's just the number from this year. So it is routinely that high. And so we're really proud of that work. And then the orange schools around the 84, those are all the different places that we offer dual credit to best fit what we offer and to fit our students' needs.
Do you guys have any questions for Megan?
Any of the Megans.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're sorry it was very long. We know it was very long, but we get one chance to tell you everything. So please let us know if you have any questions, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Next up, somebody had any questions or anything, right?
That's weird. It's so long enough.
All right, next order of business is the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? I'll make a motion. Can I get a second? I'll second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Next up is public comments on agenda items. There are none, so we'll move along. The next business order is consent item 5.01 through 5.07. Are there any items that anyone would like pulled out for separate consideration or discussion? 5.05, please. Okay, so we'll take out 5.05. So 5.01, 5.02, 5.03, 5.04, 5.06, 5.07. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right. Consent, all the consent items, except for 5.05. Pass. All right, 5.05, Lisa?
Other than I have a statement out there saying that I work for a special school district, just like.
Oh, okay, all right. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
All right. All right, so 5.05, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, Lisa is gonna abstain. All right, so, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right. Then items passed. The next business in order is action items. 6.01 Chromebook purchase.
Good evening. So last month you approved purchase of 305 Dell Chromebooks. The next morning when I went to contact our vendor, they told us those device model are discontinued and they did not have enough units to supply our request. So after talking to Dr. Dilge, I went out for quotes, back again for quotes. For the Dell 3120 model, the model is virtually identical. It's basically just the 20, the newest version of the devices. So there'll be a slight difference compared to our current fleet, but children, the students are not going to notice a difference. So the last month you all approved 86,621.70. Dell was the lowest bid of 98,655.55. Everything's the same quantity, and the students that are supplied by them, like I said, it's just a 3120 model instead of a 3110.
Questions?
My second item is administration team device purchase. This is to refresh our admin staff, which is directors, principals, and counselors specifically. Went out for bids on the Surface laptops, which is what we currently have. And BidDirect was the lowest bid. Their bid also included 4-year accidental warranty, extended coverage, which means if somebody drops their laptop, we can put it in a box and send it off to Microsoft and they'll take care of it, either replace it or repair it depending on the severity of the damage. And that is beyond the standard
standard manufacturing warranty. So, and that's through Microsoft directly. And my last item is for office staff, so our administrative assistants and basically people that are at desktops with rather than laptops. The model they currently have, they have discontinued that, so that's why I got quotes for other models, with Dell being the one that I think would fit their needs the most. They're all on one device, just like the ones they have now. And SHI came in with the lowest bid, so I'm looking for 8 of those to replace our current staff needs.
Anybody have any questions?
Could you speak a little bit to why we need the Surface Pros versus?
So the Surface Pros are what we have now. All the devices that are currently in deployment have been in deployment for over 6 years, and they're still, for the most part, they're running well, but they're starting to show their age, batteries dying and, not being able to charge as well. I looked at other devices like HP and Dell. The price points are very similar. Their extended warranty packages are not nearly as nice as the ones from Microsoft. The Microsoft one is $200 per unit, but you get that 4-year plus the accidental coverage. The ones from HP and Dell, they have extended warranties. They only last for 3 years. And depending on how much you want to pay, may or may not include that accidental coverage. So they range from like $250 to $350. And like I said, that's one whole year less than what we would get through Microsoft directly.
So I have a question. So correct me if I'm wrong. I thought we flipped to Google, like that was the big thing. So these are Microsoft, the Surface typically. I'm not a computer guru, but they're more expensive. I know that from kids wanting Surface and whatnot. And can you speak to that? Like, why are we sticking with Microsoft if we made a point of going with Google?
So in this case, Microsoft is really just the manufacturer of the device. It really has nothing to do with the specifics of us switching to Google, the Google ecosystem as far as our email and Drive. So I mean, it basically is just, I think it's a more reliable device than, like I said, if we went to an HP or a Dell. Our finance office and our office staff, there are still things like our financial package that it doesn't run on Chrome. So that's another reason why we're sticking with Windows and those devices. There are infrastructure things that I have on the back end that, most people don't see that they still require Windows. So obviously we still have to maintain some Microsoft licenses for those sorts of things. But for the most part, teachers and students using a Chrome device like a Chromebook works well for them. But like I said, there are some things, there are some exceptions that we can't, there's no way to go truly 100% Chrome in the K-12 setting.
So who are these 20? Who is that if it's not the teachers and the students?
It is principals, department directors, counselors. I don't have the list here, but it's basically 18 people with 2 spares.
And when we made the switch to Google, we also knew, so you'll see it when we do some teacher computers, there's certain programs that they have to have a Microsoft device too. So like you'll find that our business department will have to have Microsoft, like we knew some departments would always have to have a Microsoft based device. So that was part of when we went to Google, the arrangements we made. So you will notice some teachers with those as well.
Pete?
Yeah, I see that you went with SHI and they weren't the lowest bid. And that's because they didn't have the 7420 from Dell. Is that not, they couldn't bid on that? They bid on the 35W.
Yeah, Dell only bid the 35 watt machine.
Right.
SHI, their price included a 3-year extended warranty, and the other 2 bids did not offer an extended warranty.
On your requested quote, didn't Dell know they should have bid on this, on the 7420? And they
Yes,
just didn't give it to you.
that's correct.
Odd.
Anybody else? All right, thank you, Josh. All right, can I get a motion to approve 6.01? Can I get a second? Right? Pete?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye. And I'm an aye as well. All right, 6.01 passes. Next order of business is public comments on non-agenda items. No? All right. So I get a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I get a second. Phyllis.
Aye.